You're looking at my horseradish. First year I've ever grown it, though my folks grew it quite often and utilized it quite well. Beautiful monster leaves, the serrated leaves on these. The texture is incredible. You ever take time to feel the leaves of summer? Try it. This is the first time in 33 years that I was not able to start the swimming pool over there. My daughter, she was pregnant with twins, and at the 14th week she had a miscarriage, so I know where my priorities are, and I went to console them and to just be with them, if you will, and to help them through this hard time. With that in mind, though, I'm back and the swimming pool is going strong. What a blessing the 20-hour days are. And being around the kids, you bet. So many wonderful stories that I have, and a few that test my religion. Be that as it may, for example, one of the stories was a little girl. A swimming suit could not hide the fact that she was overweight, and she'd come up to the candy truck and to buy a snow cone. There were 3 little boys standing off to the side. Well, they started making fun of her, including the word fatso. I started to lean out, and I was going to tell them to cool it, but she waved her hand and said no. So I made her the snow cone, handed it to her, and said nothing. By that time, the 3 boys, they was looking the other direction, making fun of somebody else. She walked up behind the mouthiest one, pulled out his swimming trunks, and dumped that snow cone down his pants. Jumping, screaming, and hollering started up and lasted for quite some time. She turned around and walked back to the swimming pool, and she didn't look back. I watched. Street justice, you bet. Kid-wise. On any given day, anything can happen when you're around the public and kids. For example, I had a little boy and a little girl, probably 8-year-olds, holding hands. Boyfriend, girlfriend, or at least trying to get into the puppy love, if you will. Be that as it may, they even was eating out of the same snow cone. Did that for about 3 days. Then, one afternoon, sitting there in the candy truck next to the swimming pool, I heard crying. Thought I heard a thump, couldn't tell for sure. Sometimes kids will drop their money and it rolls under the truck. They reach in to get it and they raise their head too quick and bang their head and cry. So I moved everything off to the side, got out, and went around to the back of the candy truck, and little boy was sitting on his bottom on the ground, holding his eye, and the girl was stomping off that he had been going with, if you will. And so I picked him up, dusted him off, and got him to calm down from crying, and said, "What happened?" And he said, "She hit me." And I said, "Well, I figured that out, but what did you do to her?" And he said, "All I said is maybe we should break up." And I said, "Well, maybe the next time you break up with a girl, you might give yourself some room to run." He agreed, but for the rest of that summer, he stayed far away from that young lady. You bet. But not all of my stories are happy and good. I have numerous ones that are on the dark side, if you will. I had 2 very large mothers, and I'm talking, if they didn't weigh 300 pounds each, it was awful close to it, very large women. And they each had a toddler standing in line to get their snow cones. Okay. And one of them, the little toddler pushed the other toddler down onto the ground. Well, the mother of the one that had been pushed on the ground picked her child up and said, "You got to control your child. Your child pushed mine down." I mean, she was ripping and roaring. And, of course, the other mother, rather than to apologize, no, she said, "Don't you tell me what to do with my child." And they started yelling, including cursing at each other. All these little kids are standing around listening to this, and I'm trying to calm it down. And it wasn't working. They were hot. They were angry. And the kids off to the side, they started pushing like sumo wrestlers each other. And finally, though, the better part of valor, they both backed away from each other, but it was something to behold, I'm here to tell you. After they had backed off cursing, even a block away, you could hear them cursing each other, going different directions. And a man off to the side, he walked up, "Mr. Bill, why didn't you get in the middle of that?" And I said, "I couldn't have whipped either one of them, let alone both of them. I knew better than to get in the middle of that one." But all sorts of things happen, and you never know when it's going to come your direction. The idea is to try to keep it calm as possible and be ready for anything, as Mr. Bill.